Welcome, everyone, to the Lead Change podcast. We're coming to you live from the Inspire Women in Orthopedics Summit in Philadelphia. I'm so excited to have Drs. Meghan Bishop and Danielle Ponzio with us today. Dr. Bishop is a fellowship-trained, board-certified orthopedic surgeon at Rothman Orthopaedic Institute in South New Jersey, who specializes in sports-related injuries of the knee, shoulder, and elbow. She is the head team physician of Drexel University Athletics and an assistant team physician for the Philadelphia Phillies. Dr. Bishop remains active in research with numerous peer-reviewed publications and book chapters. Her research focus includes the female athlete, complex knee injuries, and sports medicine outcomes-based studies. She is actively involved in orthopedic sports medicine societies. Dr. Bishop feels strongly about mentoring the next generation of female surgeons and is co-chair and co-founder of the Inspire Women in Orthopedics Summit. Dr. Danielle Ponzio is a board-certified orthopedic surgeon specializing in hip and knee joint replacement and complex revision procedures. She earned her medical degree at Jefferson Medical College, completed her orthopedic surgery residency at the Rothman Orthopaedic Institute at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital, and pursued fellowship training in adult reconstruction at the Hospital for Special Surgery in New York City. Dr. Ponzio is an associate professor of orthopedic surgery at Sidney Kimmel Medical College at Thomas Jefferson University, with numerous peer-reviewed publications and textbook chapters to her credit. She is the co-founder and co-chair of Inspire Women in Orthopedics Summit, an annual event dedicated to mentorship, leadership, and community. She serves on the board of directors of Rothman Orthopaedic Institute. Additionally, Dr. Ponzio established and directed the Rothman South Jersey Adult Reconstruction Fellowship, training future leaders in the field. I have watched the Inspire Women in Orthopedics Summit grow and evolve over the past few years. I was honored to be invited by Meghan and Danielle to be a speaker this year. It has been absolutely amazing to feel the excitement, enthusiasm, and inspiration from the other speakers and all of those in attendance. Meghan and Danielle, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having us, Mary.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. It's an honor.
All right, awesome. So let's dive in. Meghan, can you share with everyone listening where the idea came from to create this meeting and who really is your target audience?
So this is our third year doing Inspire, as Mary said. Danielle and I were co-residents together. Danielle was 1 year before me. I was a year after. So we kind of went through residency and training together. And obviously we were allies of each other. Really we were great friends and good supporters of each other. So we knew the importance of having female colleagues and female allies to be able to get through this training. And orthopedics in general has been a very good place to work and very strong proponent of females, but there really weren't that many female surgeons that were in our group. So, Dr. Alex Acaro, who's the president of Rothman and a really great leader and a proponent for diversity, approached us a few years ago and said, ladies, if I give you guys a platform to be able to, make a meeting for women in orthopedics, you guys can do whatever you want with it. I'll back you. You guys can, go ahead, see what you guys are going to come up with. So Danielle and I kind of brainstormed and we decided, we wanted to make this meeting a space that women obviously can come together in one room, and that, a support network, be able to find mentors, but also make it more leadership based rather than, kind of calling out all the differences in women and men. But we wanted to make it that women could leave here feeling that they have the tools to succeed and to become leaders in the field, which is, something I think women struggle a little bit more than men, and having that confidence. So that was what we thought about. And we thought, we wanted to pull people that were obviously very strong female surgeons to lead examples as speakers, but we wanted to bring people from outside of medicine too, because they add a really great perspective as well. So that's how we shaped it. And we had our first Inspire 3 years ago, and it's only grown since then. And we're grateful to have you as a speaker here today too, Mary.
Well, thank you so much. And it has been incredible. Today was amazing to see all the different speakers and how, everything kind of complemented each other too. And everything was really valuable in various aspects of our career and for all levels, for medical students, residents, fellows, and those of us in practice. I think there was something for everyone today. So Danielle, how, Meghan touched on this a little bit, but maybe you can expand. How have you and Meghan gone about preparing the agenda for the meetings over the past few years? What factors have you taken into account in deciding the topics, the speakers, and really the overall structure for the day?
Yeah, I think the overall structure, as Meghan alluded to, was really to create a space where women could feel comfortable, first of all. So we decided to start the day with yoga, for example, and that was kind of done intentionally. We're at the Four Seasons in Philadelphia. It's a beautiful place, but we wanted people to be comfortable and therefore made it okay if you wanted to wear your yoga clothes all day long. That was acceptable and fine. We didn't want this to be a stuffy meeting where you felt like, oh, I gotta go here. We want you to want to be here, to feel comfortable, to be amongst your peers and people that kind of look like you, and they're all kind of here for the same reason. So that was sort of the vibe we wanted to establish. And then, as Meghan said, we didn't want it to be another orthopedic conference necessarily. So actually, our first year, I don't believe we really had any orthopedic surgeons speaking. And in fact, maybe really nobody from medicine speaking, apart from the two of us like emceeing the day. But it was done intentionally because we wanted to hear from people in different sectors so that we could pull from their knowledge and experience and say, what that you're doing applies to what we're trying to do. And the big message was really like, we want women to come into orthopedics, of course, but we also want them to be leaders and to be able to learn from other women that are crushing it in other fields and apply some of the same principles and hopefully learn from them during the day and build an agenda that offers that. So we kind of went through and came up with some good speakers that first year. And then this year we evolved to invite some orthopedic surgeons, and actually last year as well, yourself included. And I think it's such an asset to have that extra level of experience that you, for one, bring to the table, as well as research, and then that ability to network and have somebody to say, okay, Mary has like paved the path here. How do we emulate that? And in the end, we want to give people a set of skills and a toolbox that they can work from so that they leave here and they know that they can pursue a career in orthopedics, and then they could thrive in that space.
So I love that. I love that. So much thought and very intentional to how you put together the program, and what culture, like what vibe, what environment you wanted to create. And I certainly felt that today. And so it's really incredible. And it's completely different, right? Completely different from any meeting that we go to. And I think we all appreciate that tremendously. So I'll open this next question up to both of you, and Meghan, maybe we'll start with you for response. But what were some of the unique aspects of this year's meeting in particular? And what is one key takeaway for you from the day?
I think, as Danielle mentioned, we intermixed this year a little bit with some leadership coaching, mental coaching, bringing in, Leslie Storms, who's the president of J&J, in from more like a business perspective, but also bringing in a lot of orthopedic leaders that talked a little bit more about work-life balance. We had a panel that specifically spoke on advocacy issues in orthopedics, which I think is a topic that's really relevant right now, and we haven't touched upon at all in the past. And I think that's something going forward that's kind of changing medicine and shaping medicine. So we really want the meeting to stay relevant and to continue to add new aspects to it each year. The panels with orthopedic surgeons specifically on it was something new that we did. But we still kept, someone that was from a lobbyist from DC that was on that panel. We had a mental coach on our work-life balance panel. So having that different perspective is always something that we want to keep doing going forward.
The first year we did a power panel, which was really great. And so we did 2 panels this year because we wanted to focus the panels on specific topics. I think sometimes we don't have the opportunity maybe to talk out work-life integration. It's such a huge topic and it's so important for all of us. We probably could have gone on for a long time with that discussion. And I don't know why that is. I think maybe we think of it as just being maybe specific to motherhood or something. And we don't want to have anyone excluded from the conversation, but in reality, it's such a big topic. And I thought today we did a good job at delving into all the different little aspects of what that entails and what it means. So I think things like that are great. We have switched up our speakers over time. We had a great executive coach last year and the year prior. And this year we kind of expanded and went in a different direction, but we want for people that come every year to hear different voices, different perspectives, and different topics. So in the past 2 years, we sort of had different focused topics that we really wanted to hammer home, and we'll continue to sort of evolve that as time goes on.
Yeah, I think that's so great and very unique to have that mix of surgeons and maybe even physicians from other specialties, but also executive coach and the mental health kind of aspects, and we have physical therapists. So those perspectives are really important and definitely lends a sort of unique approach to those discussions. So yeah, I loved all the different sessions. I thought the advocacy session was also great. It's very foreign, I think, to many of us, and so it was really important to talk about those things and have experts in all different sort of aspects of advocacy. It's great. And also that you're evolving and that you're being very conscious of like having new speakers come in, bringing different perspectives. It keeps it fresh, and you're trying to get people to keep coming back, and then also draw in new people in terms of attendees, and then different speakers. So, yeah, it's fantastic. Everyone appreciates that. So there was so much fantastic content throughout the day today. Sessions on embracing passion and perseverance to gain the high performance edge, recruiting and retaining women in orthopedics, how to diversify yourself and your practice with alternative revenue streams, and many other topics that we discussed. So, Meghan, what do you hope everyone really takes away from this experience today?
I think, I said this at my closing statement. I think people leaving this meeting, if they know a little bit more about their why and why they're in this room and why they are going into orthopedics and what makes them tick, it's going to help them do better with their what and be more successful. So understanding really what is your passion, what is your purpose, and why you're here, and being a little introspective in that way, I think that resonated with me today in today's meeting. And I think it's going to be able to, if you'll do better of everything you do if you are passionate about it and you understand really what makes you tick.
Yeah, I think that was a theme that came up so many times today. And I personally loved the quote, or kind of the statement that your why fuels your what, right? That really understanding, why you're doing what you're doing actually can just move you further along. And so I hadn't ever really heard it framed that way. So that really resonated with me too.
One other thing to mention before you go, Danielle, I really like thinking about being authentic. And one of the things I always try to tell trainees and people going to medical school residency, being yourself is incredibly important no matter what. So a lot of the speakers have put through different situations, and it always comes back to being authentic to yourself. So I think that is one thing I always try to resonate with people. Like, if you're not being yourself, you're not going to be comfortable in a job. You're not going to be comfortable in a residency program. If you don't feel like you can be yourself there, it's not going to be the right place for you. So always look to try to be your truest self. And, that's going to take you the furthest in your career.
Yeah, agree completely. So Danielle, shifting gears just slightly, but how has co-founding and overseeing Inspire impacted you in your career?
Yeah, I think like what you're passionate about sort of evolves over time. Oh, and Meghan and I have spoken about this a lot when we were residents together. We had the mentality, and you heard about this today, of like, put your head down, work hard, and you're going to get to the finish line. And there wasn't much more to it than that. And like, we kind of didn't look at ourselves as any different than the guys that were doing it alongside of us. And then I think as I became an attending and then I became a mother, things changed. And I realized there was a lot more to it than that. And I was overlooking a lot of that. And then that's when I started thinking about the fact that I can't simply in a linear way move forward and not look behind me and help other women do this better than the way I did it. And so I think that shift then turned into a passion of like, how do I offer up my experience to other people so that I can have a bigger impact on the future of orthopedics, especially for women, because it's something that I care about. As a mom, I have two little girls, and I look at them and I want them to have every opportunity possible in the future. So if I could help anyone that's in the room today achieve their goals, then I think it's a success. And I think by having the platform of Inspire, it basically offers a way to like broaden that impact and to deliver it in a nicely packaged way that people can have resonate with them, and then they can take it and apply it in their lives in any way that they see fit. So I hope it's just like a very positive thing. I can tell you that at Rothman, like Meghan said, there aren't a lot of women who are surgeons at Rothman. And so we have to do our best to represent that cohort. And it is like one of my favorite days at Rothman. My favorite things where there's a Rothman R on the podium, and it's just an uplifting day to be a part of. So it's been good.
Yeah, it's incredible. And actually, one thing I will share, a little tidbit from my discussion with Dr. Picaro earlier today. He talked about having this be an orthopedic holiday. And I was like, that is amazing. Meghan, there's so much that goes into coordinating an event like this, clearly, from preparing the agenda to inviting the speakers, organizing the logistics of the day, all of that. You too have done this with exceptional skill, and you made it really look seamless, honestly. So what are some of the important lessons, Meghan, that you've learned in coordinating and leading this event?
First time we did this event, we planned it from day one was probably like August 1st, and the event happened in the beginning of October. So we did this whole thing in 2 months initially. So that was pretty impressive that we were able to do that. We ended up having weekly meetings just from the day of, and we made it happen. And it was a pretty good event. I don't know if anybody was here for the first one that's still here watching, but since then, I think like delegating, being a leader is all about being able to delegate tasks. It's been easier to do it every year. Danielle and I are still probably kind of like the masterminds of a lot of the content, but we've had help with finding some speakers, some of the tasks, creating more of the background type stuff like the PowerPoints and things like that. We've been able to delegate to our student team. We've had a great team from Rothman that helps as well with a lot of the organization. And then we have great sponsors every year. And this is the most sponsors that we've had for this conference, our industry partners. And we have a specific Julie Fink, she's a specific person from Jefferson that helps us with that. So, I think delegating out has been important for us just to make sure that it stays manageable and it keeps the whole thing fun for us. It doesn't feel like a burden so much. Obviously, this is all us dedicating our time to do this. We don't get anything for this besides just meeting all these great people and making connections and things like that. And, hopefully helping mentor some women in orthopedics around the way.
Yeah. It is. It's amazing. And you can apply those lessons to other things that you're doing too. But certainly I think it's very clear, right? The main goal in this is just helping inspire and motivate others, and that you have an absolutely a huge impact on everyone that was in this room today. So the structure and kind of format of the summit has evolved over the past few years. We've touched on that a bit, but always, right, the goal is to create engaging, very thoughtful content that's directly relevant to women in orthopedics. And so with that in mind and taking into account all that you've learned by organizing this incredible event, what are some of your goals for the future of Women in Orthopedics Summit?
So I would say that, as I said at the beginning, we sort of steered clear of making this an orthopedic medical conference. But I do think that now that we've established the foundation, that it would be nice to maybe make it 2 days and to do something that did touch on more of the orthopedic skill side of things, but in a room full of women, which is just unique because you don't get that very much at the other conferences. And so perhaps having an element of actually hands-on cadaver lab sort of thing, but all women instructing the day. And also like just hearing from women in different subspecialties about their experience, practically speaking, in that subspecialty. And something I mentioned to Meghan is like seeing actual cases that you're doing. So perhaps like a rapid fire, my toughest cases right here, all in one presentation in sports, hand, spine, across the board, so that everybody in the room can see like what it is you do, and that you're doing it really well. So I think the other part we've sort of ignored is like what we actually practically do day to day. What is our job and how do we do that well? And so we have to bring that element back in at some point.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting, and it's a balance and a little bit of kind of juggling to have excellent content that's engaging to a wide audience, but also tie it to orthopedics. I mean, we are talking about, having a career in orthopedic surgery, so it's a lot to keep in mind. And then balancing too also length of time, right? How much time do people want to spend at a meeting? So it's a lot to take into account. And I think you guys mentioned at the end of your sort of closing remarks that you're going to send out a survey, you want feedback, you make adjustments based on that. And so I'm sure that's really helpful as you're looking to plan future meetings. So Meghan, you serve in several leadership roles within and outside of Rothman. What leadership skills have you learned from attending and participating in these meetings, like in the summit, that you can then take back and help lead the various teams that you work with?
I think number one, being a good listener is a really important skill for a leader, making sure that everybody's voice is heard. And I think as a female as well, knowing how to speak up. I think that was one of the hardest things for me initially when I fell into some leadership roles, was like feeling important enough that my voice could be heard, and just feeling a little bit intimidated to speak up. But like I've learned through my leadership roles that we really bring a unique voice. Female leaders bring a unique voice to the table and unique opinions. I think learning that there's more than one leadership style of a way to do things, and that's okay if your leadership style is slightly different than some of the other more outspoken people I think that is something that I've learned, and being confident in myself as a leader and being all inclusive and making sure to listen to what people's ideas are, and including everyone.
Yeah, that's so important. And those skills are broadly applicable, right? And so you can apply that just to day to day, to your team in clinic, to your team in the OR, to leading a committee or a task force, and then certainly in moving forward and preparing this meeting and all the people that you have to work with to coordinate such a big event. So kind of closing out with my last two questions, which I like to ask everyone on the podcast, and I'll open this up to both of you, Danielle Danielle, we'll start with you. So have either of you read any leadership books that you have found to be particularly impactful?
Yeah, I'm going to go back some time, and I actually had to look it up to see when this book was actually published. But I'm going to say Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. And it was 2013. So that means that I was a resident when I read it. And I just remember again that it was similar to the mission of this conference in that she's not a medical person. She's the CEO of Facebook, but a very ambitious person and a notable leader. And the book is really about that ambition and leadership as a woman in particular. And some of it incorporates some work-life balance issues. But one thing that I still remember to this day from reading that book all that time ago was basically to take a seat at the table, and that women often don't. And as a resident, we had didactics every week, and we had a big conference room table. And I recognized after reading that book that I always sat on the periphery of the room. And I was like, wow, that is so true. So from like the day I read that book forward, I sat at the table and tried to be more in an engaged position in the conversation. And since that time, I've continued to apply that principle. So like on the board, I sit next to Dr. Vaquero. Like I'm not going to be on the periphery of the room. And I think also in that book, it tells you to speak up and like to say what you're thinking, put your idea out there. And it has proved to be a fruitful skill. And I do think women bring different ideas to the table. And so often amongst a board of men, I've received positive feedback that, wow, that idea is really great, or thanks for saying it, So, and sometimes you have to be a little bit more tactful about how you get your words in, because I'm definitely, again, not an outspoken person by nature. So I think that's a challenge for women.
What would you add, Meg?
So, I'm going to use this time to give a plug for one of our really great speakers that we had today, that Dr. Sindra Kamphoff, who has a book called Beyond Grit, The High Performance Edge. She is a mental coach for athletes. She was previously with the Minnesota Vikings as well as USA track and field for the Olympic team. And essentially, this book talks about how you can use the high performance edge and the mentality and the grit of an athlete to be able to apply that to your life and be successful. That challenges and life happen for you and not to you, which I thought was a really meaningful statement that comes from her book. So I was an athlete growing up. Like you, Mary, I was track and field as well. And that's shaped a lot of my mentality of how I approach things in life. So like anything that has to do with athletics and how to be more, hone your craft and be more successful at that always resonates with me.
Yeah, I loved her talk too. It was amazing. And I definitely want to read her book. So I just echo that. I'm really excited and think that it was really powerful, like her message. And then the last question, which I also love to ask, is Danielle, do you have a favorite quote?
Yes. I'm going to quote Robert Frost. And I just read this book, or his poem, I should say, to my children, because it's in a children's book form. But two roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
Love that. All right, Megan, what about you?
So I've used this quote pretty much my entire life, and it's kind of cheesy at this point. But again, I was a runner growing up, and there was a famous runner that died young named Steve Prefontaine. And his quote was, "To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift." So, that always resonated with me with anything that I did. I always, if you give your best and you know that you gave your best, then, you are succeeding. And if you, fall short, that's sacrificing the gifts that you've been given.
Yeah, such a great quote. That's really incredible. So, Megan and Danielle, thank you so much for being guests on this live episode of the Lead Change podcast. It was an honor to be part of the meeting today, and I'm so glad we've had the opportunity to dive into some of the specifics related to founding this event and how it has grown and evolved over the past few years. This discussion and all of the content presented today has been incredibly inspirational for all of those in attendance. We look forward to many more exceptional, Inspire Women in Orthopedic Summits in the future. So thank you again so much.
Thanks so much for coming, Mary, and having us and hosting us on your show.
Thank you. Thank you guys for being here.